Creo 4.0, Lesson 6, Part 1. Everything in this lesson is going to be a revolved feature. So let's start off by selecting our working directory. And it's going to be revolved feature. We're going to go new. And this is the foot. And we're going to go and pick File, Options, and click on Configuration Editor and import your configuration file. Now, this should be available to you because you saved it in a previous lesson. So all those settings are going to be brought over. And you can see things that have been changed will have a different status over here. So let's go and click on Add. Well, let's not do that. Let us go to here and let's show all the options first and then find, and we were going to look for default. You got to actually spell it correctly. And I'm going to go down and look at the list here. And one of the ones I want to select is default decimal places. I could just filter down through here to find this. And I've got it set at 3. But I'm just going to change it to 4 right now. So we have something different set up. Now in the book there is some layering that you do and step by step at this point, but I'm not going to cover that. You can follow the steps in the book. And when I click OK, normally you'd say yes because you want to save it with that new configuration file which you have already created in a previous lesson. I change it to 4 decimal places, so I'm just going to say no right now and start off my project. I'm going to click View, turn on my datum tags, go into my model tree, make sure everything is showing. I always like to do this. And I'm going to do a revolved feature. I'm going to click on the Model tab, Revolve, and I'm going to select the right datum. You're going to see a lot of times when I do a revolve feature, I like to pick the right datum. Click on Sketch View. And the reason for that is I like to see my Z-axis go down the middle of the revolved part. Not important, but I like to do that. There's only a few places that you need to do that with Creo or PTC products, and that's such as when you're doing the manufacturing or machining modules. So center line, I'm going to click 2 different spots. And if I put my cursor up here, it should come back. No, did I not get my center line? This should say line reference. And this should say center line. And I think I did not click on it correctly. So click on it once, click on it twice. There's something going on with my mouse. Middle mouse button. If I put my cursor here, it says axis of revolution. So it's correct now. So I've got to create this section, and everything must be on one side of the center line. So you can see I have my dimensions here for it. So right mouse button, I'm just going to create a chain of lines and simply come over. I'm not going to make anything equal length. And I'm going to watch my constraints to make sure I'm doing it right. Now what this allowed is the diameter dimensions to automatically be propagated rather than radius, because we used that center line up here from the ribbon. Now everything's correct except for this dimension here. I want a dimension from here to here. If I go and change this one, or I should say if I add a dimension here, it's going to take this one out, but it's also going to kind of mess up all my other dimensions a little bit. Not a big deal. I can also go and just move those again, or I can remember next time not to move them. There's a way of making the dimensions strong, and when you do that, then you won't have a situation. These are all strong now because I moved them and changed them. No, I shouldn't say that. Here is modify, replace, and here is strong. So if I make a strong dimension, then that dimension won't disappear if I add another dimension someplace else. So for instance, if I click on this and I want to turn this one into, oh, for some reason this one doesn't, oh, because I added this dimension. So this is already a strong dimension. So it's going to go there without needing to be selected and given another status. So if I go back, undo a couple things, like so. Now in this case here, if I want this to remain strong, I can always pick on that. You got all these choices. You don't want to lock it right now. You can say strong. And that'll keep that dimension there. Now, if I go and add a dimension, you can see it'll remain in the same spot. But it's mainly for other situations where you have a lot more dimensions than this, and when you change a dimension scheme, it's going to take out another dimension, and sometimes you want that one there, and then you have to do a little bit of work. So in this case here, I like to modify it using the dialog, and you always have to remember to make this bigger because it only shows 3. And I know this one here, the longest dimension, is going to be 1.25. And I forgot to lock my scale. And you can see what happened because I didn't lock my scale. So locking your scale is something that you want to get in the habit of doing. You don't have to. On a small part or a small section, it's only a few dimensions. It's not going to be a big deal. But it's a good habit. Okay, and now there's my section. This is the good dimension, the design dimension. If I wanted to, I could click on that and I could change it into something else. This one here says reference, no, replace, no, modify. I could lock it at that point. So my dimensions are 0.25, 0.75, and 0.875. And I'm going to check that one. Yes, it's correct. Okay, so there's my simple section. I like to rotate it before I right mouse button and then complete the command. Middle mouse button, there's my first feature. Control D puts it into my trimetric. If I wanted to change that into isometric, I would have to go into my options and model display and put the default as isometric. And no, because I don't want it to start off in that. I want it to be trimetric when I start off an assembly or a part modeling. All right, so the next thing I want to do is put a revolved cut in here. We've got this portion in the middle. So I'm going to go and select my revolve tool again. And right mouse button will give me remove material option, or I can click in the ribbon. And I want to define the internal sketch, or I can go over to placement define. I'm going to use previous because I want it to be the same sketch plane as before. I don't want to have to do the setup. So I'm going to click on my sketch view. And again, I'm going to put in a center line. The other center line is not there. This is a new sketch. It's like a new sheet of paper. And there's my axes. And in this case, I think I'm going to do an arc and center ends. And I'm also going to go, I'm hitting my control key. This is new for 4.0. You can get that obviously from your display style. And I'm going to have the arc center ends. So I'm just going to click in here. I'm going to try not to create an unwanted reference. So I'm just going to click someplace. And I'm going to start here. And I'm going to go all the way around. Not give an unwanted constraint here. Come down. Middle mouse button. Right mouse button, I'm going to be on the line selection. And come down. Over. And all the way up. You can see that little line created. That's also new for 4.0. So it lets you know where you are. Two middle mouse buttons and you have your section. Now this, if I click on this radius dimension, I want to change it into a diameter. There's other ways of doing this, but this is the new way and it's easier. This dimension is one dimension I want, and this is another dimension I want. So the dimensioning scheme is correct. The dimensioning values are a little bit off. So for instance, if I wanted to, I could come and I could adjust this so everything is a little bit closer than it was in the original sketch. Now, I know that this has to be 0.425 and this has to be 0.450, slightly larger. And I do need a dimension from here to here though. So I'm going to add a dimension from the bottom to the center point. And I got the line. I knew I did that when it said line. So again, make sure you're selecting your point and middle mouse button. And I think this one is 0.2. And yes, 0.2 is okay. So there's my section. Now what you want to do here is you want to save this section. It's like saving a sheet of paper with a sketch on it. So when I go up here, you'll see some of these are grayed out because you're in a section, you're not in the part. So I'm going to save, and then I'm going to give it a name. And this is going to be, I think I'm going to save as. Let's do save as. File, save as, and save a copy. And you can see I already have one called ball end. So I will just call it ball. We're going to use this section again in another component. Click OK. Check. It's showing the direction. I'm going to Control D. I accidentally hit my Microsoft button there. And I want to do Control 2 and get my display rather than having to go up here to this one and select it. So you can see the hole that it's going to create. Middle mouse button. And at this point, if you want, it's kind of nice to go over and put a little bit of color in that shape that you just created. And I'm trying to see if we can get a decent color for a change. I'm not very good at selecting colors. And I'm going to pick in here and in here. I'm going to rotate and select here and here. And so the cut portion there has a different color. If I want to go and get a different color for my model itself, I always do this wrong. There's actually a little menu that's popping up behind here, a select menu, and I have my screen full so you don't see that. All right, and that color is somewhat objectionable. So let's just do something like this. And I hesitate to use green sometimes because what you're going to find is that it is the same color of some of your selection. I'll just give it this color here. Not very good at selecting my colors, I have to admit. Close. Control D. Get it into my isometric view. Now, next I want to go and I want to select an edge here and then pick the chamfer command. And I don't remember what the chamfer is, but I'm just going to leave it like whatever it is here. And the next thing is to put in some rounds. We'll do this a little bit different. I want to select a surface, hold down my control key, and pick another surface. And the context sensitive here, it's going to come up and it's going to say, these are the commands that are available there. But I'm a little surprised that round didn't come. I'm going to pick round, and you can see my round command like so. Now, right mouse button, I can put a new set of rounds. It'll be one round feature, but with different sets. I can also open up the Sets tab, click on New Set, and pick an edge over here. And this one, I can make a different size. So it gives me one feature, but with two different sizes. And if I want that one and this one to be the same, I can keep selecting. So I have, if I click on here and I want to click on select my edit dimensions, you'll see I have dimensions available for both of these. One of them controls 2 rounds, one of them controls 1. Now, I left the last one here separate. I'm going to go and select the edge, and we're going to put on a round. And I'm going to put my cursor over the top here of the drag handle and add a radius. And I'm going to do that 3 times. And what I want to do is I want to take these and drag them to different quadrants. I don't think I got this one quite all the way. All right. So you can put in as many as you wish. And what that allows us to do is to alter our rounds, make them one feature, but different sizes. Like so. Check. And if we want to, we can select those and put a color on those. I'm running out of color ideas, I think. And you can see the curvature a little bit better when you do that. Now, I think that's pretty much it. This particular project is important that you save that section, because if it's not available in the next part that we do, the next Revolve feature, you're going to have to go back and save it. And I should actually probably do that for you right here. We'll demo it. So let's say you get to the next project and you forgot to save that section. So we simply are going to go in here and edit the definition of it. So you can open this part up again if you need to. Go back and go edit the sketch. And you don't really have to look at it, but if you want to look at it. But the main thing is you file, save as, and then make sure you've done it under the name that you had before, or I'm sorry, a new name, so that you know that's the ball end shape. That should also show up in your, later it should show up in your, let me go over here, in your palette. So if I was going to go back into here, edit the definition of it, and go back into my internal sketch, here's your palette. This palette should show, and mine does, the new ones that you saved. So these, besides the standard ones, the ones in your directory are also going to display. Another reason, make sure your working directory is the same for all your projects. And make sure you save it. That completes part 1.